Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today, I want to help you choose a good teacher. There's a few different criteria that you need to use when choosing a teacher, and probably the first and most important one is to look at your joy level. Learning English is one of these things that can't exist alone. It has to be shared with other people. That's the purpose of language. It's communicative. So when you're with a teacher, or a language partner for that matter, you need to ask yourself, what's my joy level like? Is my joy level up? Is my joy level being taken away from me? What's happening here during this lesson? And if there's moments of aha and moments of satisfaction, then you know something is going right. But if you leave the English lesson thinking, I don't think that guy listened to me, then clearly there's a problem there. If your joy level is up, it's wonderful. It gives you a sense of purpose, a sense of satisfaction, and also a sense of moving forward in accordance with how you want to learn. A good teacher should be helping you to feel motivated, should be recognizing your targets, and also recognizing how you want to learn, whether that's through structure, grammar books, or just general conversations. He should affirm you and give you good feedback as well. All of these things contribute to your joy level. So that's the first thing. How, after the lesson, you can ask yourself, how do I feel? Do I feel happy, sad, disconnected, maybe a bit solitary? Sometimes you walk away from a lesson thinking, what was that all about? I know sometimes when I have lessons in Spanish or Persian, maybe there's cultural differences, and sometimes people don't really meet my expectations. And then other times I'm really pleasantly surprised about the way the lesson went. So your joy level is definitely the first thing that you need to look at. If your joy level is down during or after an English lesson, then you have a right to ask yourself why. And the answer may not be about your English. There's a tendency with all of us to say, my English is so bad, so I didn't enjoy that lesson. But that isn't always the case. You should be leaving an English lesson feeling happy, whether your English is good or not. So, joy level, that's almost certainly point number one. Point number two, did the teacher really recognize my needs? I went to the lesson, I told him that I want to practice speaking, and he forced me to read and write for the whole lesson. Or I told him I want exam practice, and he just ignored me. Or he had his own agenda with the lesson, and he didn't really seem to hear what I was saying. And then again, of course, there's always that voice that says, maybe I didn't communicate it properly. Maybe it is my bad English. Maybe it's not your bad English. Maybe there is something with the teacher. A lot of teachers, are, how can I say this, not able to hold a conversation. They come to classes armed with grammar, ready to shoot it at you. And that might just be not what you want. Sometimes we just want to be listened to. We want people to recognize we're speaking a language, and we just want to hear that that's okay. A recent poll that I did on italki asked the question, what do you most want from your italki teacher? And the answer overwhelmingly was for him to listen more. So were your needs met in the lesson? And if not, if your joy level was okay, but your needs weren't met, that just might mean that you need to clarify with the teacher exactly what you need, and don't be afraid to tell the teacher, this isn't what I want. A lot of cultures are afraid of the teacher, that the teacher has power. But when it comes to a one-to-one, and also within English culture, there's a lot of power involved there. And you need to be able not to be afraid to say, this isn't what I want. Just stop the lesson dead if the teacher goes off into some weird grammar thing. Just say, no, I don't need to know this. Thank you very much. This is what I want to know. And if you have to fight to get your point across, then again, there's something wrong. Ask the teacher, what's your strategy? Why are you showing me this when this is what I wanted, this other thing, So don't be afraid of a teacher. Be quite forthright. You really have to be if that's what you want. Even a lot of teachers, aren't able to hear what you want, so they just come with their stuff rather than yours. So there we are. That's the second most important point. So we had joy level, and we also are saying, well, did the teacher meet your needs? The next point is exactly how personal was the lesson. Now, this is a tricky one because teachers are trained to try to lift you above personality. So if the conversation is, do you have brothers and sisters? Do you have a dog? What is your job? And these things, that, in my opinion, is a bit of a bad sign. Now, it doesn't mean that the teacher doesn't care about your life, but he should be able to choose a topic to talk to you about, which leads you into a higher discussion. Now, the art of conversation, as we all know, is in recent years has disappeared, especially with the advent of the internet and global communications as they are. People really don't talk so much now. They send WhatsApp messages to communicate and everything else. And of course, that's not good. So the question is, was the teacher able to lift me away from my very mundane world and get me to talk about things which are actually outside my comfort zone, things that maybe I find interesting? I mean, hobbies and pastimes can be a good place to start a conversation about something deeper, but they never should be revolving around only your personality. Let me explain a little bit more about that. When you go for an English exam and an IELTS exam, sometimes they ask the question, describe your favourite book, describe your favourite family member. I'm not in favour of that at all. I mean, why would you tell a complete stranger anything about your life? And just because it's a teacher on Italki or an examiner, why would you want to reveal a vulnerability or a weakness? So for me personally, in these situations, I just don't tell them the truth. So if I'm asked by an examiner, I had to do the IELTS exam during my teacher training. If they ask me, who's your favourite family member, I would just create somebody. Oh, that would be Uncle Jack, yes. I don't have an Uncle Jack, but it avoids the pain of talking about family. And these days, I don't want to make you suspicious, but you have to be quite careful. So if an italki teacher is asking you very direct questions about your personal life, particularly, are you married, are you single, are you dating, give me your number, you have a right to question or at least terminate the lesson if you don't feel comfortable. Italki actually have a code of conduct for teachers. We are not allowed to directly ask anybody for personal information if it's not related somehow to learning. Okay, so sometimes things come up in conversation, and that's okay, but we are not allowed to directly seek information from you about your personal life, especially personal information such as contact details. So it's something to keep in mind. So if there's any moment where you don't feel comfortable, just walk away, you know. I was in a situation recently where I was asked, "Oh, what do you wear at the beach?" And I thought, at the moment that I was asked that question, I actually didn't think about it. I avoided the question by saying, "Oh, I don't talk about things like that. You know, I'm not really a beach person anyway." It wasn't until later that I thought, that person actually asked me that? That's a little bit creepy, you know? So I'm not saying that you need to be suspicious of all teachers, but you need to be very aware at all times of where they're going with their conversations. Some teachers use personal information just to build a basic conversation. That's good, but teachers are trained to get away from that. Of course, over a period of time, we may get to know you and we may become very good friends with you. We may even talk about your personal life at some point in the future, but that should never be the basis for the beginning of an English instruction or an English lesson. That kind of stuff can come later, but be careful, because if you become very good friends with the teacher, then the quality of the conversation and even the instruction itself could be lowered. So a teacher should always be able to be lifting you higher and away from these personal things, as well as helping you and listening to you. I mean, if you come to a lesson and what you want to talk about is your personal life, that's fine. A teacher will listen, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? But if a teacher instigates that conversation, then I would put a little question mark there and say, well, for example, if you tell a teacher you're looking for a new job, that's fine. He can teach you interview questions. If you tell a teacher you're looking for marriage, there's not a lot he can do with that, except advise you to clear out your wardrobe, buy new clothes. I mean, really, is that part of an English lesson? So, be careful of how that unfolds and pay very careful attention to the teacher's motives as well as your own motives, because even though everything's in English, it doesn't always make for a good quality English lesson. All right, so these are some key points. So the first one there, as you heard, was your joy level. Did the English lesson bring me joy? Did it make me happy? Did I leave it feeling motivated to learn? Did I leave it feeling surprised or puzzled? Did I leave it scratching my head thinking, I'm not sure about this? But if your joy level was good, then there may be some things you have to discuss with the teacher about how to progress further. But a joy level, or your joy level, is a very, very good sign. The second thing, of course, was about what the teacher is asking you to do. Are you being listened to? Are your needs the same as what the teacher is giving you? Do the two things match? And again, from your joy level, or at least your lack of confusion, you should be able to see where that's going, or what that looks like. And the last thing is, of course, about the quality of the lesson and whether the teacher's motives and your motives are kind of matching. Just make sure that you feel completely comfortable with the teacher, and he should never be soliciting you for any kind of personal information. Although if that comes up in conversation, that's all well and good. But there shouldn't be some kind of need or want for the teacher to look into your personal life in any kind of personal way. Teachers are trained to raise a conversation up and away in order to help you improve. For example, talking about your pet dog, how is that going to help your passing an exam exactly? Maybe it could be used for you to describe the dog, but you having a dog, and whether the teacher likes dogs or not, I'm not really sure is necessary or helpful in an English lesson. Okay, although it's always nice to hear about dogs and cats. I have a little cat, and you've probably seen pictures of him on my social media. So something just to think about, just to be aware of where the teacher is going with some of these questions. Remember, you're paying for lessons and you have a right to ask what's happening here, what are we going to do, why are you not doing any reading with me yet, why are you asking me the questions you're asking. You have a right to ask that, you know. And also teachers follow a conduct agreement, which we agree with Italki about what we should and shouldn't do. And we never ever will make you feel unsafe, or we should never ever be gathering personal information about you or even storing information about you. So you have a perfect right to ask all of these questions during the lesson. That's it for me, so I hope you found this useful. Remember, your joy level is the most important thing. It will always guide you as to whether a lesson is good or bad, whether you're comfortable with the teacher or not, whether you're motivated to move on to the next step. Your joy level is always a thing that you should be examining. Alright, that's it. So I'll talk with you again soon, and have a lovely day.